If you're doing a DIY solar installation, one critical aspect you can't overlook is ensuring that your inverter and solar panels are perfectly matched. Ignoring this can lead to serious problems, and many people mistakenly assume they'll work together by default. But don't worry, I've got you covered with a simple yet effective approach to get it right. The answer is, call a solar installer and shell out $30,000 for the job. Forget it, just kidding. You can always go for solar design tools such as PVsys and OpenSolar. For beginners and individual users, OpenSolar is recommended since it is free and easier to start with. But these tools are not always flexible, and if you don't understand the logic behind it, you may even find it difficult to understand how to use these tools. Instead, here's how you can ensure your inverter and solar panels work well together by checking 5 key aspects: maximum DC input voltage, MPPT voltage range, inverter efficiency, consistency of strings, and inverter's maximum PV power. 1. Maximum DC input voltage. The first thing to check is whether the maximum DC input voltage of your inverter matches the open circuit voltage of your solar panels. Here's the rule. The total open circuit voltage of a string, accounting for the temperature coefficient of the panels, must be lower than the inverter's maximum DC input voltage. Example, let's say your inverter has a maximum DC input voltage of 600 volts and your solar panel's open circuit voltage under standard test conditions, STC, is 45.4 volts. You plan to configure 12 panels in a string. Total open circuit voltage, 45.4 volts, times 12 equals 544.8 volts. Looks fine at first glance. But wait, don't forget to account for temperature. Solar panel voltage increases as the temperature drops, so let's calculate the impact. Temperature coefficient, -0.265% per degree Celsius. Suppose the lowest temperature in your area equals -40 degrees Celsius. STC temperature equals 25 degrees Celsius. Temperature gap equals -65 degrees Celsius. The voltage change percentage is approximately 17%. Adjusted open circuit voltage per panel, 45.4 volts times 1.17 equals 53.2 volts. String voltage, 53.22 volts times 12 equals 638.64 volts. This exceeds the inverter's 600 volt limit, so no, you cannot configure 12 panels in a string. Key takeaway: always ensure your string voltage at the lowest temperature is below the inverter's maximum DC input voltage. 2. MPPT voltage range. The next step involves checking the MPPT voltage range of your inverter. Use the same approach as in the first point to verify that the voltage of maximum power, VMP, of your solar string remains within the specified range at the lowest temperature. The first and second step typically restrict the maximum number of panels you can include in a string. 3. Efficiency of the inverter. Inverter efficiency is another crucial factor. Check the efficiency curve of your inverter. You'll notice it's much lower at low power levels, but stabilizes once the power output increases. The key takeaway is that the minimum number of solar panels should be sufficient to keep the total power within the inverter's optimal operating range, typically no less than 30% of its rated power. 4. Consistency of strings. Most inverters have 2 to 4 MPPTs, each capable of handling 1 or more strings. Different MPPTs are independent, so their strings don't need to match. However, strings connected to the same MPPT must have identical voltages. This means using the same type and number of panels in each string. Mismatched strings at the same MPPT can cause inefficiencies or even damage the system. 5. Inverter's maximum PV power. Some inverter manufacturers specify the maximum allowable DC input. You need to ensure that the total maximum power of your solar panels does not exceed the inverter's maximum PV power rating. As mentioned in the first tip, solar panel voltage increases in low temperatures, which also leads to a rise in power output. Therefore, similar to the first tip, you need to account for the temperature coefficient to ensure that the maximum power output at the lowest expected temperature remains within the inverter's maximum DC input limit. By checking these 5 factors, you'll set up a reliable and efficient solar system without a hitch. And the last and most important tip, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss another video on solar and renewables. Thanks, and see you at the next video.